Own your throne. It's the topic for today. I want to teach you how to overcome these uncertain times and to feel confident and unshakable in your love life and your work life and any other areas that you feel are really shaken up right now. So I'm Dr. Kelly Martin, Kelly Martin Shue. I almost went to my maiden name. Fantastic. I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Shue, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and dating relationship coach for women. And I have been exploring what it means to be a queen and what it means to really own your throne. And what I mean by that is, how can you be confident and hopeful and certain when there is an enemy in the castle, or when it's hard to know what's next? You know, these really are unprecedented times, and there is so much uncertainty out there. And so I've been really investigating what it means to be a queen and own your throne. And I want you to think about your throne like you're sitting on this beautiful chair. And as a woman, you're sitting there and your arms are right up on the armchair sides of things, and you are able to find your center even when everything seems to be going astray. And so in the investigation of this, it took me right back to when I was 13 years old. I wanted to become a scuba diver. And so my mom and I were in Mexico. And to become a scuba diver, you know, there are different tests that you have to go through. And I was going through my advanced certification at 13 years old. And it was my first really deep dive. And at that time, being a kid, my mask was too big for me. And I don't even know if they had children's masks. And if they did, I didn't have one. And we had been taught to really blow air through the mask if water got into your mask. And so I found myself on this deep, deep dive having to do that several times over and over and over and again. And I think we were probably, 80 feet down. And the good news is that the dive master was my partner. And earlier in the day, we had gone through a practice, and it was a very playful practice. And for some people, this might seem very scary. But I can remember him teaching me how to take the regulator and do something called buddy breathing. And now scuba divers actually have an extra octopus or an extra regulator with their tank, so that this idea of buddy breathing, you would just grab the secondary regulator if you ran out of air and use your partner's air. But back then, when I was attempting to get my certification, the way you would buddy breathe is you would have, your regulator, the thing that you breathe through, like that, and you would hold your breath in practice and hand your regulator over to your buddy. Your buddy would take a breath, and then you would put it back in your mouth and back and forth if your buddy ran out of breath. So this is the way they did things. If you ran out of air, you would signal to your partner you're out of air, and your buddy would ideally be right there with you, and you would buddy breathe. Now you can imagine this takes a great deal of trust. You are under the water, and you go for a breath, and there's no air. So this was my experience. I was 13 years old. As I said, we were probably 75, 80 feet down. And I was just swimming along. Every now and then I would clear my mask. And I went for a breath, and there's nothing there. Imagine, underwater, no breath. And most kids, most people would have totally freaked out and panicked. And good chance that deep down may have drowned. But what I did is I went right to looking at my dive master, and I let him know that I was out of air, and he very calmly grabbed his regulator and began to buddy breathe with me. Now, my mom is watching this whole thing unfold. And again, I can only imagine as a mother how scary that must be. And so in the training, they had trained us quite well. You would buddy breathe, and even though we were so deep in the ocean, there's something called a safety stop. Normally, when you would ascend to come back to the top of the water, you would actually do a safety stop, which allows your body to regulate with the gases in your system so that you wouldn't get sick upon returning to the surface. And so when this happens, this emergency, if you're out of air, the directive is you go straight up and you skip your safety step. And so this is what I did with the dive master. I make it to the surface of the water, and lo and behold, I'm totally relaxed, like not scared at all. I look back now and I'm still amazed. And what I believe in that moment, I had total trust, and I leaned into my training. Okay, you are all being trained. Okay, and they say that you always fall back to your highest level or your lowest level of training. And so thank God that I had been trained. I knew what to do, and I trusted. And it was almost like this divine presence came over and took care of me. Now, I came to the surface, got in the boat. Now, my mother, of course, they ended the dive, but she had to do her safety stop. So she's wondering what's going on with my daughter. So she came up, she did her safety stop, which is what's recommended so you don't get sick. She came to the top and was totally scared and freaked out and in crisis mode. And so I really believe that that was a fundamental shift for me, and now that I look back, in my ability to get really grounded, and actually for many people almost more, not more peaceful, but this presence can come over me in crisis, and I want that for you. And so I want to kind of unwind what happens, when you own your throne. So when there's crisis all around you, how do you stay in your center when there's so much uncertainty? How do you remain confident and hopeful when you feel so unlovable? Maybe you've just been through a breakup or a divorce, or you think that you're unlovable for many different reasons. How do you come back to your center? So one of the questions that my husband began asking me when we first started dating is, Kelly, what do you know for sure? And when things were uncertain, it's a fantastic question to bring you back to center. Because even in the midst of chaos, there are things you know for sure. Call it faith, call it an uncanny amount of confidence. But to ask that one question, what do you know for sure? And so during these times, especially in relationships, there is a lot going on. And if you're single and you're wanting to date, you might be thinking, am I ever going to be able to date again? Am I ever going to be able to break that 6-foot distance? Am I going to be alone forever? I mean, all these things run through your mind. So my invitation for you first is to imagine, put the crown on your head like the queen that you are. And your kingdom is your life. Your queendom is your life. So the first thing to do is just sit and look out at what you've done in your past. Where have you moved through times of uncertainty and gotten to the other side of it? What did you do? For some women, it allows us to spend extra time in prayer. We can also take this time to remember, the gifts that we have, the gifts that you know for sure, no matter what. There are certain gifts that make you unique and special. Reminding yourself how resourceful you are and your ability to overcome challenges. I am such a stand for women to feel empowered and strong and powerful and to have a voice for their lives. We are not victims to what's going on in the outside. Yes, there's been lots of surprises. There's been lots of tragedies. And I am a stand for you owning your throne. Especially if you're a single woman and you're wanting to share the throne with your king. Your king is coming. I promise you. Focus on what you know for sure. Take a moment, sit on your throne, find your center, and from that, creating that faith that everything will turn out, that life is happening for you. And as I always say, love is your destiny. So if you like what you saw today, be sure to join me on Tuesdays at 4:30 Mountain Time for Transformational Tuesday. And in the comments, share with me, what do you know for sure? What do you know for sure? When times are challenging, what can you always rely on? What do you know for sure? Thank you and have a fantastic day.